You gotta tell me these things.
This is the Social Factor.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
Hello, we're back. Season 2.
We're back. Yeah, we're back with season 2. A couple different things. Some new things this season.
Yep.
So this entire season is going to be dedicated to one topic with a bunch of individual topics, like in there.
World history overall.
Yeah. So the topic, as you have seen on our Facebook page, is world history.
My favorite topic.
And basically, what we're gonna do now. This is remember that episode last season where we were gonna do how the Kim family came to power that we canceled into another
Correct.
topic.
Yes.
That was because we had this world history thing planned. We thought, well, if we're talking about world history of North Korea, we'll probably talk about how the Kim family came to power.
Correct.
So, that is why we pushed it to this season. And, being that we were going to do that topic, we decided to do North and South Korea being the first topic of season 2.
And I'm glad you say both of them because the history of Korea
it
started with North
just
and
Korea.
South.
It was just Korea,
Correct.
and then it became North and South.
And that happened in like 1948.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, in this episode, we are going to talk about the history of North and South Korea as they used to be as Korea.
Yeah.
Now, a couple things. Website is now live. Now, I did post yesterday. We did post yesterday on the Social Factor Facebook page, which Facebook.com/The Social Factor Podcast, that it does have a weird URL, and that's just because I don't really want to put, slap money down on something until we have more followers. So really the only thing we're paying for right now is our broadcasting system.
Awesome.
So the website is the Social Factor. There's a hyphen in between each of those words. .my-free.website.
Okay.
So it's a weird URL, but like I said, it'll become www.thesocialfactorpodcast.com or something like that as soon as we get more followers. But for now, that's what it's going to be. So yes.
But for them to access each episode, what do they have to do?
For them to access each episode, you go to that website, you click on episodes, all the episodes are automatically updated.
So we're not through Spreaker anymore?
We are through Spreaker.
That's what I was asking. I mean,
Yeah.
can you just go to Spreaker.com?
Well, yes, you can
put
go
in
to
Social
Spreaker.
Factor?
However, you can listen to it live on our website, too.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yes, to listen to our website, to listen to our show podcast, you can go on our website now, which was what I just said, the socialfactor.myfree. Website. Anyway, it does appear you can listen to the show live on pretty much any page. However, you can also listen to the show live on the actual Listen Live tab, and we do actually have a new chat system this season. The last season, we did have a chat system. However, it wasn't through our website. It was through the service that we used to broadcast this, and you had to actually sign up for an account and all that stuff. And a lot of times it's a turn-off for people. They don't want to sign up for an account just to... So whatever. So we created a chat on our website that you don't have to sign up for anything at all. You can just type in what you want. You just basically type set name on the bottom there, and you can just type in whatever username you want, and then you can just start typing as that username. No account whatsoever. You can choose your username whatever you want every time you come in there. So the chat system is available on our Listen Live page. So if you want to, chat with us, that's go to our Listen Live page. You might want to turn off the one that's on every page. And then we also have the Social Factor. We also have the live feed on our Facebook fan page. Now, for some reason, I don't know why it's not showing up on there, which it was before. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why it's not showing up on there.
What's there mean?
Basically, I have this set up right here, and then that's supposed to be viewed on here.
Okay, so this is an internal issue. So you're
Yeah.
saying it's technicality.
So
So there's a blank page on
Yeah.
Facebook, but they can still hear us?
they can still hear us, however, they can't see anything. All right.
Oh.
So I don't know why.
That's probably less of an issue, because they can't see us anyway.
Yeah, but you can still hear us, so that's good.
It's audio only.
Exactly.
That's cool. That's
Mhm.
fine.
I'll just, I guess I will end the live video on our Facebook, or no, I'll keep it up actually.
Keep it up.
Yeah, because then people can listen to us on there too. Alright, so let's get started. David has done a lot of research on this.
Well, the best I could. Korea is actually there's a lot of information regarding that region of Lower China. Okay, I mean, they're right by Manchuria, and they're pretty much attached to China, but Korea is very complex because there were so many different countries trying to get into their system, into their culture, trying to rule the people in so many sense. I mean, we're talking all the way to Germany, all the way to France. Even the United States had a big part early, in the late 18th century or 19th century into the 20th century. So it's complicated. There's a lot to read, and I'm just going to be very brief about what I read. Okay, and pretty much the Korean history goes back 6,000 years, and it started, where there were individual villages and they became tribes. Okay, and for about 3,000 years thereafter, 3,000 to 4,000 years between the Bronze Age and the what's it called? The lead? What's the other one? Iron Age. They stayed that way. Okay, until a time, and let me see. Let me get this right. By about 300 BC, they had learned to use iron. We already talked about that. Then all of a sudden, 3 kingdoms came out of all these different tribes, and I will try to do my best to pronounce these properly because it's really hard. So what happened is you had the Goguryeo in the north, and Silla and Baekje tribes in the south. Now today we know that as South Korea, and Goguryeo is the northern region, which we all know about North Korea today. So apparently in 57 BC, by an individual named Bak Yakugusi, and Jumong founded the Goguryeo in 37 BC. It's a little confusing, but all these old tribes banded together and became individual kingdoms, 3 of them, and they were heavily influenced by the Chinese civilization. Okay, so by the 4th century, they were highly civilized. Okay, so again, Korea being in the location it is, they emerged quite early in world history. Now, of course, like any kingdom, they fight for supremacy. So a lot of fighting went on between the 3 kingdoms.
Yeah.
And what is very interesting is that China tried to defeat the northern kingdom of Goguryeo twice. Both times they were defeated by General Ulji Mundieko. I hope I'm saying this right. I don't mean to offend any Korean ancestry here. It's not easy to say these names. The Chinese failed twice to attack the Goguryeo kingdom. So what they did is, these little sly people, is they decided to ally themselves with the Silla. Okay? And what Silla did is they ended up going against the first smallest kingdom, and so China and Silla kind of worked together to destroy the the Baekje. It's down far south. Okay? So Silla is part of the southern region, and then you have the one right below it. And so they were destroyed. And this happened in 660 AD. Okay? So here's the thing that happened: that Gokyeo ended up being followed. It followed in 668, so it was kind of messed up. And for 900 years, Silla ruled. Okay, the entire nation, or the entire, I don't even know what to call it. It's like just Korea that we know today, the bordering city of, or bordering country of China. So they did pretty good until 935 AD. And the thing about that is they, like any country or civilization, things become weaker. You know, economic ruins happens, sometimes starvation or drought, you know, all these things. And they ended up not doing so well. And Goryu, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Working out for you.
So the original one in the north ended up taking over again.
Okay.
So they kind of exchanged, you know, in 918 they defeated the rivals. In 935 became ruler of Silla. Okay, so they ended up taking back their own kingdom, and because of that, it kind of split Korea as far as they recreated more than one kingdom. Okay, so Silla lost the power, and the thing was the region, or the Gokyeo kingdom, it faced a lot of aggressive adversaries. A lot of war was happening around that time. And it got worse because at some point in 1231, it got worse for Korea because China was conquered by the Mongols. Okay, Mongolia. Okay, which is like right next door. Let me see, China's here, Mongolia is above that, and then you have Russia going this way. Okay, and so when the Mongols were done with China, guess where they went? Korea. Impressively speaking, though, the northern region defeated the Mongol invasion.
Uh-huh.
So Gokyeo actually survived the Mongol ruling. However, the south wasn't so lucky. Partly Silas or Silla was already very weak from, you know, about the 100 years prior to it. And then you had the other one that was so defeated already, like 800, 900 years earlier, that they never quite got around to it. And so in 1231, you know, Mongols invaded that region and turned their attention to the mainland region of Korea because they couldn't defeat the big boys, you know. And at 1258, the Korean royals family surrendered. So in the end, they lost anyway. And Mongol rule took over for a little while. And there was a period, you know, and we could go into detail about this culture or this country because they started off as Confucius because of the strong Chinese influence, and then all of a sudden Buddhism came in. Okay, and then after that, when the Japanese got really, really strong, had a strong influence over Korea, there was a Shinto time where Shintoism, which is Japanese belief system, kind of influenced it as well. Now, let me see, just one second. Okay, so in the 13th century, they were talking about Chinese philosophy, Chinese philosophy, and Neo-Confucianism arrived in Korea. So Buddhism was in there for a while, then Neo-Confucianism came back. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because ideology and belief systems were very strong in Asia, okay? And you had this circular motion of all these different belief systems, and Korea was like the center of this, where they were getting hit from both sides, okay? Because Japan you have the ocean right here, right? And then you have Japan right here, diagonal to Korea. So all they had to do is take some naval ships over there, and they did. They tried twice to invade Korea and failed as well, like the Chinese did. However, they pulled back and then started creating like other means of influence Korea. And then in the end, and we know in World War II and everything, it was all Japanese-owned country. Okay, so Japan ended up being the strongest of all the enemies. Okay, and Shintoism had a lot to do with the Japanese influence. Okay, so as I said, I could go into a lot of detail. I'll make it real short because we only have so long to talk about it. So you had a few dynasties, okay, that existed, and then the last dynasty ended. I believe it was in the late 1800s, like the last emperor.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was 1910. Again, it happened because of the Japanese influence. Okay, at this point, the Japanese were pretty much controlling the majority of Korea. Okay, and offhand, I don't remember the name of the emperor, but he was a puppet emperor. Okay. And what that means is when you have a person on top that is really representing the interests of the people controlling him, and this would lead into World War One, and Korea didn't have a big part in that at all, but Japan did. Okay, so they had a lot of military presence in Korea at the time, and then it stayed. And the United States is at fault for that. In 1910, Theodore Roosevelt, our president, hosted a summit, or I forget what they call it now, but Theodore Roosevelt got Japan and Korea at this location and sort of went in favor of the Japanese. And it was a treaty that was signed, okay? And at first it was a pretty fair treaty, but as time went on, new treaties were being created, and each treaty gave Japan so much more influence and power over this nation. And, I got to tell you, I'd be honest with you, from what I read so far, Japanese are tough people. I mean, the Japanese are tough, but the Koreans are really tough people, okay? Because, number one, the majority of Koreans throughout the entire history, since the moment that they became a kingdom, and then working into more of a unified nation, the majority, like almost 80%, were all peasants.
Wow.
And up until 1910, they also had slaves. So it didn't specify nationality. I believe it was their own people that were servitude.
Okay.
If they couldn't pay off a debt, they became a slave, and the United States had that for a while as well. But the important part is, that the United States played a big role in Japan taking more control through the first treaty, and then I think they had 3 other additional treaties that ended up pretty much taking away power from the Korean, the system, the political system, the structure that was there at the time. So yeah, thanks, Teddy. If I was Korean, I'm like, thanks, Teddy. All right, so you go through the war, World War II, and again, there was a lot of things happening in China, and there was a large group of individuals who were fed up with the Japanese power. Okay, and so they said about 250,000 of these men and women went to China and Russia to be trained to fight the Japanese. Okay, and one of them in 1948 became the main cheese, the big cheese, and it's Sung Il-sun.
Sung Il-sun.
He was one of those individuals who went to China first, and he was raised in China.
Oh, no, he's not in the Kim family, because he doesn't have Kim in front of it.
No, he changed. His name was different. He is the first Kim.
Oh, so he changed his name to Kim.
Yeah, and what does that say over here? What's his actual name?
What was it?
The top guy.
The top guy?
The founder of the...
Kim Hyong-jik? Or Jik? Or Kang Pan-sak?
He changed... In 1948, he changed his name to meaning man or a person of the sun, which means Sung Il-sun. Sung Il-sun.
Okay.
The father of Kim Jong-il.
The father of
Kim Jong-il.
Of Kim Jong-il? That was Kim Jong-suk. Oh, wait, no, that's a girl. Kim Jong-a. Kim Song-a.
That's also a girl.
No. Dude.
The girls are pink.
The founder of the North
Kim
Korean...
Il-sung? Right
Il-sung. But he was also known
as...
as...
the great leader. It says Kim Il-sung, the great leader, born April 15, 1912, fought the Japanese in Manchuria, founded the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in 1948.
Yeah, in 1948. But the fighting began in 1937, when the Manchurian campaign, when Japan wanted to... apparently Manchuria had a lot of access.
Oh, these are two different wives he had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the pink people are girls.
They called him... he actually changed his name. That was his official name. But the Korean people in North Korea called him Sung Il Sun, which means the son of the sun or something, like the man of the sun, the being of the sun. And it made him, okay, so let's go to that time. So he gets all his training from the Russians, and he made really good connection with the Russian, and I think he was an officer of this group, okay? And again, 250,000 people volunteered, went over to China, went into Russia, got trained there. After the war, there was a temporary, there was a 3-year gap from 1945 to 1948. And in that time, he became progressively a very powerful, influential individual. And what he ended up becoming, they pretty much took, in 48, it was actually established by the Soviet Union.
Okay.
Okay. They pretty much made the North part of that. Now, that was prior to the Korean War. It was already starting, and he already declared himself, the number one man. Okay?
Right.
Now, the Korean War was caused, and I'll be honest with you, the Korean War, Russia wanted no part of it. But they did supply the Air Force, okay, the Red Air Force. But China took a larger role in actually assisting
Kim what?
The main guy.
Kim Il Sung?
Yeah, Il Sung, okay. But see, remember, Sung Il Sun, he also used that. So Russia was vaguely supporting the initial cause of Korea, of the Korean War, but China was massively supporting. China wanted more control over Korea and wanted to take that away from the Soviet Union. And the relationship between the Soviet Union and China was very shaky in the late 40s, moving into the beginning of the 50s. So they were sometimes at each other's throats. So, the leader and the North Koreans decide they're going to invade South Korea, that region. Okay. At that point, it was still no DMZ. There was a lot of tension between the northern and the southern region, but they didn't have division yet. Okay. So in a way, it was everybody was a Korean, but these guys up there are becoming a little more fanatic than they should be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then they hit it. They invade it. And next thing you know, you have the Korean War. And the United States completely vested its attention, its military, to the south. Mm-hmm. While Russia at first, but kind of reluctant, and then you had China there. Now, China had an incredible army already at that time. And they sent, I believe the number was 100,000 Chinese regulars to Korea. Okay? To North Korea. Could have been maybe 200,000, but I know that anyone that fought in the Korean War will tell you that they saw more quote-unquote slatin eyes, and they weren't Koreans. Okay, they were Chinese. And in the end, pretty much the fighting, what happened, the North Korea and China passed the 38th parallel. Because, if you ever talk about Korea or you hear about it, that 38th parallel is like the marking point. Okay. That red line they weren't supposed to pass. Okay?
Right.
And, pretty much what happened is so the Korean War went on from 1950 to 1953. And if you want to talk about war, the level of warfare, okay, it was equivalent to the fighting. It was equivalent to the fighting in World War II. But it was not considered a war. It was a police action by us. The UN first dealt with it, was the Americans leading it. I think at one point there were 25 nations supporting the South Korean government. Okay. In the end, the United States pretty much stood by themselves. I mean, the majority of the support came from the U.S. Okay, because they were trying to stop this communist movement coming and covering all of South Korea. Now, at one point, the North Korean army, with the support of the Chinese, went almost all the way down to the bottom of Korea. So all that fighting, the Western militaries and the South Korean military had to fight their way back, and they ended up at the 38th parallel, back to where it all began. And that became, I believe that's the area, I forget the name of the community on both sides, but it's dab in the middle of Korea, and it's known as the demilitarized zone. To this day, do you know they never actually truly had an armistice or anything? No. So the war was never finished. To this day, they're still at war.
Wow.
Is that crazy? And here's the thing. If you look at North and South Korea, it's pretty much the same model as it was West and East Germany. Okay, it was the same divide, the same sort of people involved. Russia on one side. Okay,
so the war was never basically.
It was never declared over.
It was so it was basically never declared. They just stopped fighting.
Well, they didn't
physically.
The I think it was called the Paris Treaty. I could be wrong. There was a treaty signed, sort of like putting the war on hold. Okay, and the reason, if you speak to any military personnel from the United States, they have a large base, quite a few military bases there, and the DMZ, you have Marines and Army, okay, at the DMZ watching the North Koreans, and often and of course South Korean military personnel on the borders as well. I remember hearing about stories where there would be actual engagements, firefights between the two sides, including Americans. I mean, there's U.S. personnel have been killed on that border.
Wow.
Okay, so it's a very volatile situation.
So what? So like now, what year are we in now with the history?
Well, I kind of did a quick
overview.
Okay. Because if you really, there's a lot to their history. There are names I can't pronounce.
Right.
Okay. But, they had, like, for instance, if you look at the feudal times in Korea, they had hierarchy. Their system was a hierarchy.
Yeah.
You had the emperors and then all the nobles.
Yeah.
Similar to Europe in many ways. In Japan. The same in Japan. And then as you got lower, you had like what we would consider middle class people.
Yeah.
Artisan and people working in the fields and people, mechanics and tradesmen were considered at the bottom of the tier. So that was that went on for a very long time, all the way into the 1900s.
Right.
Okay. Now as far as like at one point, like the late, I want to say like the between the 1700s and the 1800s, up to, I want to say like the 20th, pretty close to the 20th century, Japan became an isolationist country. They wanted nothing to do with the Westerners.
Okay.
At all. Okay. And so, so there was some positives. At first, it was all right, but what happened to Korea is that they weren't able to advance like other countries because they had no contact with them.
Right.
And they had bad taste of the, especially European.
Because the only people that are actually in contact, the only people from North Korea that are in contact with people outside of North Korea, is the actual government, and that's it.
And North Korea took on the position of an ancient way.
Exactly, because their citizens are forbidden from having contact with any people outside the country.
Correct, but North Korea is very different from ancient Korea. And the reason I'm saying that, the reason that originally the Koreans did what they did as far as trying to be isolationist is because they had Western interactions, including the United States.
Right.
And I want to say the early 1800s, a ship called the General Sherman, USS General Sherman, was sunk by the Koreans.
Okay.
By the defense system and the Navy. The Koreans were awesome at naval tactics.
Yeah.
They built something called the Turtle. And the thing, I looked at it today, I'm like, whoa, that's a unique design. And it was fast, it was armored, and the Japanese, the French couldn't deal with it. The French got their ass
It's called the Turtle then.
It was designed like a turtle, it was round like that.
Okay.
So one thing that I wanted to talk about, there's, I guess, rumors that, Kim Jong Un's brother was assassinated.
Yes,
And there's
heard about
rumors that Kim Jong Un was the one that killed him.
Yes. I've heard
So
of that.
what? You want to talk about that?
Well, understanding who the Kim family is, and the thing is that his brother was actually ousted or exiled.
Well, and the thing is that
He lived in France, I
Kim-
believe, for a little while.
the one that died was Kim Yo Jong, I
Yeah,
believe.
the guy in the middle and the bottom.
No.
No.
Not the
No,
pink
at the
person.
picture. Look at the
The
picture.
side.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the picture.
This
That's
guy,
him.
yeah.
He was killed.
Yeah, he was
So
killed.
that would be the
So
big
he's-
guy on the left. No,
Yeah.
the other left.
Oh, him. This
That
guy. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Noon. I remember him. I read about him quite a bit. And the thing with him is like the Kim family is very dangerous towards itself.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's you have brothers, you have cousins. They're kind of in the seat of being at the top, and in a way it's like watching an old movie from the Renaissance of all these different like
Right.
France and England. So Kim Jong Un was he was probably, how do you say, he was more in line with his father,
Right.
where his brother was not. In fact, if you look at him, he was kind of a slob. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he didn't fit that character of a leader. And that's the thing. They were also Kim Jong Un was groomed to be the successor.
Well, plus it looks like it says first mistress and second mistress of Kim Jong Il. So it looks like the only one that he was actually legally married to ever was the Kim Young Suk.
Yeah. And here's the thing, though. You ever looked at him in pictures?
Who?
Kim Jong Il.
Oh, yeah. He's
You know he was only like 5'4",
wow.
and he looked goofy. Quite
Yeah.
honestly, no offense to any Koreans. I mean, why? And if you look at North Korea, they look kind of funky.
Yeah, yeah. And
Unlike South Korea.
This family tree will be posted on our website. Right now, for some reason, our the live feed on Facebook isn't really working as expected. But this family tree
Are you
was
sure
posted on
that
our
the
website.
that the audio is working?
Yes, because I know
On
it's working.
everything?
Yes, because it says
Because you
it
don't
is.
have the page pulled up, you have the chat pulled
It
up.
says it is because I know that.
You
Anyway,
don't have the page
um,
pulled up, you have the chat pulled up.
see,
Thank you.
we're getting bars.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
all right. So,
I would like it if you just kept it up.
oh, okay.
The
So,
chat on the other page.
Okay.
Nobody's talking to us anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
so, talk for a minute about like modern Korea, and then I want to finish the show off with some weird laws that North Korea has.
Sure, definitely. Well, modern Korea, of course, is North and South Korea. Okay, and because of the South really benefited from the American connection that they had. Besides having a military bases there to protect them, and I'll be honest with you, South Korean soldiers are amazing, especially the Marines. I mean, they make us look not like we're weak, but they're intense people.
Right.
Okay, and but they didn't only benefit from the protection; they also benefited from the capitalism. Okay, and Seoul is an amazing city to be in. Not that I've ever been there, but I had a friend when I was younger who came from Seoul, and I had the opportunity to meeting his family, meeting some of his cousins, and they're rough people. Not so much like Japanese where they're stiff. Koreans are more, I don't know how to describe it, but
Right.
every Korean I ever met is very personable. Okay.
Any Korean you've ever met would have been from South Korea.
Well, there are defectors.
Unless they escaped North Korea.
That's the
So what about
defector.
North Korea?
North Korea is on the other end. They were solely ruled by a communist ideology,
Yep.
partly started by the Russians or the Soviet Union, and then of course China took the place. China literally took a financial and militaristic place.
Right.
Okay, so it's a country that is plagued with famine often. They don't have really an infrastructure to create money, to create industry.
Right.
Okay, they're solely a militaristic government. Okay, like
Okay.
what they call a police state.
Yeah.
It's run by one family, and it's like a kingdom. It's really a kingdom.
A lot of people don't realize that see, a lot of people think, oh, the Kim family owns North Korea. Now, they don't actually own it. We live in a world where it's like fear-mongering where they own it. Because I read this in an article on the internet, that that North Korea holds an election like us. They hold an election like us.
Yeah, but it's just to appease the people.
Yeah,
Exactly.
However, no free choice.
However, like I said, it's like the illusion that they
Take a part in it.
Yeah, because
it's a large masquerade over there.
Because even though they do hold like an election and a vote thingy, everyone's afraid to run against the Kim family because they're afraid that if they don't vote for them, the Kim family will know, because they will know, and then they'll face consequences. Also, if somebody runs against the Kim family and loses, they will also face the consequences. So nobody ever wants to run against the Kim family.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, what you're describing is the Soviet Union when it was the Soviet Union.
Right.
But even they had rules to protect people. Not in Korea. But the fascist Nazi regime fits that bill a lot better.
Yeah.
Hitler and his thugs is no different from North Korea and the Kim family.
Right.
And the thing about it is that, they have starved their own people, while the Kims eat like pigs, okay? And as you said, they have weird rules. There have been reports coming out of North Korea that when the famine hit, I'm trying to remember how many years ago that was, but I think maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I read that the famine was so severe, and the Kim family would not issue anything but to military personnel. People were eating. Cannibalism was happening. They were eating other people.
Oh my God.
Okay. And these are just there's all kinds of mass executions. Okay. Like China. I mean, China has a daily execution list.
Right.
Okay. They're very strict on any drug dealing, on any kind of crime you commit. As little as what we would consider a misdemeanor is an execution. Now, when you have almost 2 billion people, how do you control that? Well, population control. You start executing people. Mm-hmm. North Korea does not have the infrastructure to support their populace. Okay. And they don't have the freedom to allow new thinking. Okay. And I disagree with you. The Kim family owns Korea, 100%, because they're holding it by force.
That's exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. The election is just to give the illusion that they have the citizens have a choice, but really they don't.
Just like a parade. That's all it is. It's like a ticker.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Ticker tape.
So I have no idea, but I'm going to talk about some weird.
Go for it.
Weird laws that they have. So first of all, your hairstyle literally in North Korea has to be approved by the government.
I heard of
there is only 28 approved hairstyles. It's 10 for men and 18 for women. If you do not have a hairstyle in these list of approved hairstyles, your hairstyle is considered illegal.
Which could be a violation, and therefore you could be ended up in a jail or something, or
if
a camp.
You want to live in North Korea's capital, Pyongyang,
yeah.
You have to get permission from the government. You can't just move there. You have to actually get permission from the government.
Oh yeah, it has to be approved. Very communist.
And then only 55% of eligible U.S. citizens actually voted during the 2016 election, and in North Korea it is illegal not to vote. You basically have to vote in North Korea. The government basically mandates it for all citizens, but unfortunately the government also mandates that all 100% North Korean citizens vote for the same person. So it's like...
It's a big monopoly. That's
exactly. It's like, hey, you have to vote, but you have to vote for this person.
You must show your patriotism.
Like I said, it's the illusion that they have a choice.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing authoritarian states want to control, it's information and communication.
Of course.
So because of that, North Korea controls the airwaves. There are only 3 TV channels to choose from, and the programming is all strictly controlled by the government. Another hallmark of an authoritarian
Authoritarian.
authoritarian
Tough language.
regime is controlling religion.
Yeah.
If you're caught with a Bible in North Korea, you could be imprisoned or executed. It's because it's assumingly because the government believes that if the people believe in a higher power than the government, then they could revolt, basically.
And there have been a few revolts over
Yeah.
the years.
If a North Korean citizen commits a crime, their whole family could face punishment.
Yep.
Like many other despotic governments, the threat of incarceration and severe punishment always weighs heavy over Korean citizens' lives. There's a 3-caste system in North Korea, and it's disturbing, apparently. So North Korea's founder, Kim Il-sung, established the 3-caste system in 1957 to better control the populace. Society is broken down into basically 3 classes: core, wavering, and hostiles. Those who are most loyal to the government were placed in the core class, and those least loyal to the government were basically placed in the hostiles class.
Which makes it easy to control people, because if you know who's potentially going to rise up against you,
Yep.
and hostile, it's definitely, Hitler did this, but he had 7 categories.
Yeah. 8 more to go. So in 2008, North Korea stopped receiving fertilizer for its farmland from South Korea. It's traditionally mountainous and arid country. North Korea needed the fertilizer to make its farmland produce enough food for the population of 25 million. So to correct this deficiency, North Korea turned to human waste. Each factory in North Korea is mandated to supply farmers with as much human waste as they need. Oh my god.
But
Well, actually, that's a very common. A lot of farmers throughout the world they've converted human waste into fertilizer.
but if you don't treat it correctly, eating
Exactly.
stuff with someone else's human waste could make you very sick.
Yeah.
Like E. coli, encephalitis.
If you try to leave North Korea, then you're basically executed or consigned to a labor camp if you're caught.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to get into North Korea, but it's even harder to get out.
Yeah. Once you're there, you ain't getting out.
Exactly. The only people who are allowed to have access to the internet in North Korea are political leaders and their families, students at elite universities, and members of their military cyber warfare department. No one else is allowed online.
Isn't that crazy?
These people are isolated as hell.
That's horrible.
Not only that, but the computers in North Korea run their own state-made operating system. There's no Windows and Mac OS in North Korea, only Red Star OS.
So internal information only.
Yep. Wi-Fi has been banned at North Korean embassies around the world. It's not clear if any citizens have access to Wi-Fi, but based on the embassy ban, it's not likely. If you're somehow allowed to visit North Korea as a tourist, be prepared to have a government official watch over every single step of yours. Every single interaction, photograph, and visit must first be approved by the government. If you take, I watched a YouTube video on this. If you take a picture of a supreme leader, or like a government official, they have to be not a single part of them can be cut off in the frame. They have to be in the frame perfectly. Otherwise, the photo's illegal. The women in North Korea's military have to endure incredibly difficult conditions. First of all, they have to have the same haircut. They all have to have the same haircut. They're also required to always march in unison. One misstep could be all it.
In unison.
One mistake or
One misstep.
one misstep is all it takes to be sent to a labor camp.
What?
I know, right?
Do they treat the men like that?
I have no idea. So another strange North Korean law is that most citizens are not allowed to drive. One of the most striking parts of photographs taken within North Korea are the vast stretches of empty highway. Only government-sanctioned individuals may own and drive a car.
Damn.
And
controlling the population.
finally, the final rule that we found is that it is against the law to make an international call in North Korea without permission from the government. In 2007, a man was alleged to have been shot and killed by the government after making a number of international calls.
Because they consider him a spy.
probably.
Yeah.
So there's probably more, but those are the ones that we found because, obviously there's a lot of strict laws in
you have
North.
like 30 seconds to say your
Yeah,
goodbyes.
there's a lot of strict laws in North Korea because literally they want the people to know that they are literally the alpha gods in the country.
Well, they do. They look at themselves as gods, and that's crazy.
Exactly, and that's why one of the reasons why the Bible is banned.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we're your gods.
Yep.
But anyway, that's
Fast, you got like 10 seconds.
yeah, that's it for for North and South Korea. Hope you learned a lot. Next week we will be back with Russia.
Hoorah!
Take it easy. Later.
Bye-bye now.